We're back with another episode. With me today, I got Reo Cragun and the one and only DLG, both of them from LNRZ DAO, guys. I'm really excited to have you on. Reo, welcome back. DLG, on for the first time. How are we feeling? What's going on?
Feeling good. Yeah, this is long overdue. I appreciate you having us on.
Totally.
And
Reo, what's
it's
you?
better
back,
in here,
man. Yeah, I'm excited to be back. Just got back from New York, and I'm happy to be back in my own bed. It's a long week.
Nice.
But
Are you in Vegas or are you in LA? Where are you?
yeah, so I'm in Los Angeles. I ended up just moving back out here probably like a month and a half ago. So
Sick.
back to this being home base.
We rented a 26-foot U-Haul to move Rio out here. It's crazy. That was let me tell you, I am baffled they don't make you have a special license to drive one of those things. I was pretty dumbfounded when we just pulled up at the U-Haul spot and they're like, yeah, here's almost an 18-wheeler. Go for it.
Jesus. Right.
Yeah.
When
we got Rio out
LA?
here. Yeah,
What's that?
I mean, I'm just I was saying I'm stoked to have you out here. Finally. It's nice. It's nice. We got some of the loners, getting the loners team a little closer together.
Sick.
Completely.
And,
Reo, how long have you been in LA for?
I've been here like a month and a half now. Yeah, it's been cool. Just ended up getting a place in Van Nuys. We have a backyard now, which is great because I have like a little dog. So yeah, she's happy for sure. But no, yeah, it's been great. Like Dave said too, he actually ended up driving the U-Haul. So shout out to him for that. But yeah, it was a mission to get back out here, but I'm glad. I'm super stoked to be back, man. I was here for like 6-7 years before Vegas. So yeah, back to home. Let's
go. Welcome to LA. We're happy to have you. DLG, if all else fails, you'll be a professional U-Haul driver. I can see her now. It's gonna be great.
Man, I got the skills. I'd like to think I have the skills. We'll see. We'll leave that up to everyone else who was on the road with me at the time.
on more important news, let's get into loners and the reason why we're here today. Okay, I wanna take this conversation into a couple lights. Okay, number one, understanding what loners is. Reo, it's the first time we've actually done a more formal deep dive on loners. And DLG, having you here, I know you guys are like you and a few other brains behind loners. So hearing it from your perspective and kind of having a conversation focused around it will be really great. I want to talk about the new project that you guys have coming up that's dropping on Friday. Talk about the I guess the overlap between Web3 and music, curation, community, like all these buzzwords. Okay.
Yep.
But I think a good place to start, guys, is understanding who you guys are. So for those who haven't listened to previous episodes, how would you go ahead and introduce yourselves? We can start with Reo and then move our way to DLG.
Yeah, completely. So I'm an artist, man, first and foremost. I moved out to Los Angeles in like 2016, I want to say. Had about $1,000 in my pocket, couch surfed, and grinded it out until, my music started picking up. And, I put out my first album in partnership with Virgin, and which is like Capitol Records, like I guess like subsidiary label. And yeah, it did really well, and it kind of took me all over the US, and yeah, I just kind of grew my career from there. From about like 2019, a friend of mine, Flume, and I put out this project. It did super crazy, definitely changed my life as far as my artist career goes, and we toured that all around the world. Came home and coronavirus it ended up striking, and it was pretty wild because we had a lot of stuff booked out for that year, and then to be at stay-at-home order, I was kind of just well, I don't even know what to do with my hands anymore because I'm just everything that touring had just become such a, part of my, I guess, identity, I would say. And so I went pretty deep into crypto, and I bought some long-term holds, and I just fell in love with the space. And it was around that time that NFTs were also kind of just popping into the conversation. a little bit more on a daily basis. And I was like, this is really cool. So I ended up collecting a whole bunch of PFPs, and then I realized it was like, wow, there's like a real application here for like music, but where is it happening at? And so, I spent a lot of time deep diving into who some of the builders were, and just completely took over my entire existence. And now I've just been full time here for the last like almost 2 years.
When you were originally on, I know we did a dual episode with you and Daniel. I'm pretty sure it was for Glasshouse, right? Or what was it for? Which project was it for?
For Criteria.
Criteria. That's right. Criteria. Yeah. And that was the first time you were on. And that was like, I think till today, it's like one of the largest, if not the largest music NFT drop that has happened so far in the space. And I know Loaners existed before that as well, because I remember for a while now, there was a mirror campaign, a mirror post, a blog post where Loaners did a crowdfund. And I remember contributing to that campaign. So I'm OG, bro. As OG as it gets. Saw that blog
we know it.
And crowdfunded
it.
OG, man. No, we really appreciate you. Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, the crowdfund, like that, it's crazy to think about. I think that was about 2 years ago at this point now.
Wow.
Which is, yeah, man. So yeah, this is the first body of work that's coming to fruition, which like we're super excited about. Obviously, we've done a whole bunch of things in the between time as a community, but yeah, this is the first big project. Yeah,
let's go. And DLG, for you, I mean, I gotta get started and just say on the record, like I'm such a fan of your music, genuinely, like no BS. I collect your stuff. I have your shit saved on Spotify. Like I'm a fan. So the fact that we're doing this episode, I'm actually super, super excited. But for those who don't know you, for those who haven't collected your music, for those who aren't as big of a fan as I am, who are you, DLG? What does the world need to know about you?
Well, first, thank you, man. I'm honored. I love hearing stuff like that and really appreciate it. My name is David De La Garza, DLG. So it's just the initials of my last name. I'm an artist. I'm from Austin, Texas. I grew up between Austin and Germany. So I spent a lot of time in Germany as a child. But yeah, I've kind of always, I've always been musical. I've always been an artist. My mom is an artist as well. So I grew up drawing, painting, playing guitar. I played classical guitar since I was 5 or 6. And kind of had that going throughout my life. In high school, I guess middle school and high school, I got into like songwriting, and into high school, a friend of mine had Ableton on his computer. He got a new laptop. He had Ableton. He was like, "Hey, come over. Let's learn how this shit works." And so I kind of started diving into production at the end of high school, and yeah, really like Ableton grabbed the hold of me. And then into college, I went to school at Cal Poly in the Central Coast of California. So went out there. I was studying music and business. I didn't really ever. I wasn't 100% sure I was going to be a professional musician. It's one of those things that it feels a little crazy to think that's a possibility before it becomes an actual possibility. But I knew that I wanted to make music my whole life, no matter what I was doing. And even if that meant working a job on the side, that was something I medium liked, maybe some graphic design stuff that I did for a while. Actually, I was a graphic designer for a decent chunk of time after college. But yeah, I just started kind of building my craft when I was in college, and getting a little better here and there, and eventually getting more comfortable with like telling people I was an artist and putting a song out here, a song out there. And it really just kind of, there wasn't really one moment where it was like, oh, wow, that changed that took me from not a professional artist to a professional artist. It's just been a snowball, honestly, like consistently from the time I put out my first song to now. And it's just been very steady, constant. And then suddenly this past year, I was working as a graphic designer, and it was just like, I was like, I'd always said for a while, obviously, when I get to the point where I don't need the day job anymore, I'll quit. And it was kind of crazy because last year I came to a realization. It's like, well, I don't really like need to do this anymore. So transitioned out of that into being a full-time musician. And Loners, Loners had always been on my radar. I met Reo, I guess, well, I should say about kind of my introduction to Web3. That happened through Daniel, Daniel Allen. We were internet friends, kind of before even he was introduced to the Web3 music space. And we had a Zoom session or two during the pandemic, connected through some mutual musician friends of ours. And yeah, made some cool stuff. And I remember him telling me like, yeah, I'm going to throw a little event, little backyard concert, invite some industry people. One of those people was Cooper. He's told this story like 500 million times, and I've also heard him tell it 500 million times, but it's a great story. And like, that is what, that was the only example I had of a musician thriving in the Web3 space. I've been familiar with crypto for a while, but not with NFTs or with any of what was possible for me as a musician. So just seeing Daniel go through that journey, it was probably like October of, oh my God, like, I guess, yeah, almost 2 years ago, 2021. Anyways, I can't even remember when it was, but it was like a little bit after Daniel's kind of NFT journey had started, and we were both in Austin together. He was visiting, and it was during his like initial crowd fund, and he did, and like that closed. Yeah. We were all in the room when that closed, and it was crazy. And I was like, this is insane. I have to see what this is about, because this is nuts. I mean, we just have an independent musician here just hustling, just as, lots of other independent musicians are out there hustling just as hard, but like Daniel really found that pocket, and so did Reo, and now me, and all these, like, all the Loners freshmen. Like, it's crazy to see how that has just snowballed into being like truly one of the most exciting areas of the entire music industry. Like, there are more hyper talented musicians in this tiny pocket than like anywhere else, which has just been awesome. So yeah, I mean, Loners was on my radar like from kind of the moment it emerged because of Reo, and then I kind of got involved though this past year when it was like, Loners was gearing up to do a lot more than it had been. It was coming out of hibernation, and that's been crazy. I mean, it's been almost like 6 months plus of us doing like the weekly drops, the spotlight drops now, and it feels like it's been a week. It's been a whirlwind, and so much has happened. But yeah, I'm super blessed to have like seen this awesome thing happening in the Web3 space that I thought was one of the most exciting things, and now working on it every single day with Reo and Braden and Jeremy and all the freshmen, and it's just been super cool to see it all come together. But yeah, that's my spiel, I guess. Yeah.
One thing that I picked up on your background, DLG, is you brought up how your mom's, she's also creative, and I couldn't help but think like, what influence has she had on your work?
Yeah, great question. I'm actually very glad you brought that back up, because so my mom actually, we make all of my album artwork together. So
oh wow,
like, yeah, so she's a like next level watercolor artist and sculptor and designer and architect, but the watercolor was the thing that like I always I can't draw architectural diagrams, but I can also kind of watercolor paint. So that was I grew up drawing with her, and we would do this thing when I was younger. I would draw something, and then she would take that drawing and paint it in a way that was like, added shading and depth, and it was really cool. So it was like a children's drawing that had this very like, detailed like depth to it and almost kind of realistic feel. And I actually have a book that my parents and I published when I was probably 6 years old, and it's filled with my drawings that my mom then painted. So it's been something that that kind of method of collaboration we've been doing since I was 5 or 6 years old. And my album artwork, when I started releasing songs, and was like, well, the first few I made the artwork myself, but I like always thought that art style that my mom and I had collaborated on together was so cool. So we started doing it again, and I would draw some stuff, and I would send it to her, and we'd talk about what colors we wanted for it. And then, yeah, she'd paint it all. And on a lot of them, she would paint it in segments and then scan those and send them to me. And I'll take them and arrange them in Photoshop. And that way we can get really, really clean cut lines for something that, like for watercolor, sometimes it's, unless you are masking out parts of your art, it's very difficult to get those. So yeah, I mean, she's had an enormous influence on the way I create art, but also like actually still makes art with me for my music.
Cool.
Yeah, which I'm very thankful for.
That's really cool. You guys have a very, very cool story. Each of you individually. Reo, from your like couch surfing days. Dave, for you being in that room for the iconic Overstim drop. And somehow you guys sort of parted ways. I'm curious to learn more about like the both of yours, both of your backgrounds and how that sort of merged. And even from a bigger picture, kind of like the emergence of LNRZ DAO. And maybe even start with like, what the heck even is LNRZ DAO? We've said that keyword so many times, but I feel like people still listening, they still don't know, like, they don't know what exactly, like, help us understand what that is exactly.
Yeah, for sure. So to touch on like how our paths kind of like diverged, it was actually at Glasshouse, the writing camp.
Yeah.
And that was kind of around the time that also, you know, I had realized like there was such a need for, you know, more in-depth curation in the space. So like for musicians in Web3 who are new to it and looking to make an entry point, I kind of like, you know, always hear the same things, very similar to like what, you know, David from Sound says. It's like artists, it's not the easiest thing to discover or to put a finger on what you should price your initial mint at, what you should, how much quantity you should have as well. And like, that's just not, it's not an easy thing. It's actually a lot. Like as you do it more and more, you know, you get like a gut feeling and you're like, cool, like, okay, this feels correct. But at the very beginning, right, it becomes difficult. And so the idea was, cool, we have so much talent in this space, but no one is really like creating music together and no one's like curating it at like an extra level. I think like we need to build this vehicle that does that. And that is a home and kind of like an incubator for new talent in the space, and where we can guide artists and put a spotlight on the music and, you know, really set it out into the world like in a proper way. And so that's kind of what the initial idea of LNRZ was. And we still, you know, even with this project, that's exactly what we set out to do. It ended up evolving after we realized that if we just sit and work on music, one project for like, let's say a 6-month period, that's 6 months of us kind of not being in front of everyone's faces. And, you know, we really want to build community and we want, you know, a lot of people to be a part of this rather than, you know, just having like a select group. And so we rolled out this curation system where we started dropping like a song every single week, and it was called, you know, Season 1. And so the moment that we started doing that, kind of like everything I think clicked. And it was just insane at the beginning, like how fast like the community was growing. And now we recognize that, you know, I think that what we're setting out to build is kind of like the next iteration of, you know, what a New Music Friday or like a Pollen looks like on Spotify. It's this community, you know, like that people are paying attention to. It's where you can discover new music, but we also want to take it, you know, a step further where you can get, you know, content, know more about the artists who are, you know, releasing on these drop days, you know what I mean? And really like be an actual part of the community rather than just, you know, clicking follow and then having, you know, hearing the new music on like Thursdays. Yeah. So it's a step further.
How would you add to that, DLG?
Yeah, I would just say that like, yeah, it's really our goal is to make it a hub for, I mean, really all things music that just has a level of depth to it that like doesn't currently exist. You know, sometimes the elevator pitch we give is that it's a Web3 music distributor, but it's really so much more than that. There's a huge community aspect. We, as Reo said, like we want to be a place, a tastemaker, a place that people go to in the way they go to Pollen or New Music Friday or these playlists that exist on, DSPs that people love. I mean, the crazy part to me is those tastemakers, it's just a list of songs and there's no further depth there. There's no further way to engage with other people listening to that music. There's no way to further engage with the artists that are on that list of music. So, I mean, that's where we really think that the game has to change, and we want to be the first ones to do it, to just bring a level of depth to music curation and music discovery that hasn't existed before. And yeah,
I love that.
I
love that. I love how you guys called it an incubator.
Yep.
A music Web3 incubator. I can visualize that. I can really understand what that means. And a lot of this conversation was predicated around the first project that you incubated, called Satellites, right? And
Yep.
I want to spend a lot of our conversation sort of going into this first project that you incubated. What does it even mean to incubate a song, a project, let alone in Web3? Like, what does that really look like on a step-by-step basis? I can't really visualize. Help me understand that. When you incubate a project, like Satellite, for example, which maybe this is a good time to even introduce Satellite. What goes into it?
Yeah. So to give a little context, Satellites is a 6-track EP from Loner's first freshman class. The Loner's freshmen are a group of 5 artist acts that were selected by the community a while ago. I think Reo can probably go into that process a little more later, but it's a list, like from a large list of artists narrowed down to these 5 acts, and they're crazy talented. I think the thing that artists do best is make art. So to incubate that process, I mean, we take care of, we wanted to take care of the rest of the surrounding items that have to go into a large project. And, starting initially with just getting all the artists in the same room, able to create music together, unobstructed by distractions, in a place that like facilitates that creativity. So we flew all the artists in, or in some cases drove them. We got a few who were in LA. Got all the artists in one place in Joshua Tree in January of this year. So got a big spot for them, made sure they were all in one place, happy, and just like able to create to their fullest extent. And the project was all supervised and executive produced by Jeremy on the Loner's team, aka Clear Eyes, half of Marion Hill, who's a insanely talented producer and was definitely the glue that helped kind of guide these 6 artists all in the room together in certain directions. Maybe like, okay, this is sounding like a song, this is sounding here. So he really like was instrumental to keeping that whole process organized, focused on the end goal, and just like kind of overseeing the immediate day-to-day of everything there. So huge shout out to Jeremy. Definitely couldn't have this project without him. And a huge shout out to all the freshmen, because they are incredibly talented. And like the project itself, I would like to say I think we did a really good job at incubating it, because I listen to it like every day, and the songs are just really cool. They sound really fresh and new. They're all over the place in a really good way. They sound cohesive while also just like you can see all of these different artists who have very different sounds all blending in a way that's just so cool. And some of the songs are like really aggressive and go super hard, and then other, like one of the songs on the project just gives me chills every time I listen to it, and it's super like spacey and just like I'm like getting chills thinking about it right now. It's the first time I heard it, like Reo was in the room with me, I was like what the fuck is this? This is nuts. Like so yeah, it's just awesome to like see, like if you told me those artists were coming into the room together, I have an idea of all of their sounds. And so I can like kind of think in my head, oh, maybe it would sound like this. And it's so rewarding to like hear the end result and have it be something I never in 100 years would have expected. And it's like so goddamn cool. So yeah, I mean, we like facilitating, incubating the project definitely comes down a lot to getting all the artists together and able to create. It also means getting all of the visual assets, organized and made. Shout out to Everlasting, who's the super talented visual artist who is putting together all the 3D assets and all the renders for this project. It's like super awesome stuff that just helps build the whole world, and I think is critical to having an awesome end result. So, the artwork, there's all just the like kind of behind the scenes, like just administrative, just legal shit, marketing, like, there's a lot that goes into, this right now, making sure that we're talking to people in the space, we're getting on the best podcasts in the game, and we're getting like the word out there. There's so much extra that goes into these projects, and it's really it's super rewarding just to like curate awesome music that's already out there and help it succeed. Having that music start from the ground up has been like a whole other type of experience, and is just that much more rewarding.
Let's talk about that, because Bello, the project that I've been working on for months, just got into an accelerator. Like, it's more of like a startup accelerator, but in many ways, I feel like Loners is very much like a startup for artists and a startup for creativity. So when I think about like creating and cultivating the right environment for an accelerator, right, it's all about like people coming together. It's all about doing things together. It's about learning the process, collaborating, shooting the shit, like throwing stuff at the fan, seeing what sticks. Very quickly, can you sort of like sum up the environment that you guys built in Joshua Tree, and how you think that sort of contributed to the final product of what we have of the 6-track project?
Yeah, for sure. So again, shout out to Dave and shout out to Jeremy for the setup. So like really what ended up happening was we got this really large like house in Joshua Tree, and it was a 2-story house. Upstairs we had like the B studio, and in the living room we had the A studio. When you have 5 artists and an executive producer, and then one of the acts is actually 2 individuals, so really like 7 people total in the house, right? You need like more space than just one studio. So that was really important. And yeah, so that's pretty much what went into it. A lot of ideas happened as a group, and then like people would break off, go flesh out the ideas, come back. There's, a whole song made off of it now. And like, so that was really cool. We did not have like, all the time in the world. I believe that it was like 4 or 5 days that we were out there. So that's also an important factor to like think about. So how do you make really good music in like a limited period of time? So yeah, we just want to make sure that everyone, was comfortable, had their own space. And we actually overshot. I think like the freshman of Jeremy made like 13 songs when we were out there. We ended up condensing down to 6 songs. So we still have like a lot of great music kind of just in the vault.
So really, really quick, I can imagine with so many like creative minds in the room, there could be clashes, and there could be like points of frustration, or there could be in like, not from like a negative standpoint, but somebody wants to add their input here, or they think this should go over here. And that had to have happened, right? Are there any stories you could share around that?
Dude, honestly, no, it really didn't.
Really?
And, like shout out to Jeremy too, because like, I think that's like the important thing about having like an executive producer in the room too. He really just like did his thing.
Honestly, like I will say we lucked out, and like I would say a really good trait of a good artist is being able to work like with others and understand if maybe their ideas are worth fighting for in a certain location in the song, and maybe or they're not, and this other idea is better. And I think like we have the best group of freshman acts here, and everyone like, the times I was in the house, like everything was just flowing. It was like we got Ollie and Tate up here, we got Madeline and like Verwell, they're down here like doing like this, and Jeremy's tinkering over here, and like Naomi's over like writing over in the corner over here. It was it was awesome to see, because that definitely, I mean, that comes up like all the time in collaborative situations. But yeah, I think Jeremy's role was perfectly executed. He was like, I'm sure if there was ever, you know, questions, like, I know he kind of brought it to everyone, was like, what are we thinking here? What are we thinking there? And I like, it just goes to show, I think when you get a lot of artists in the location with like that singular goal and kind of get all of them out of their comfort zone, like, it's not like anyone was from Joshua Tree, you know, we put them all in a new location. They're all on level ground here now. And they're all tasked with the goal of creating the best thing possible. I think it just speaks volumes as to what like caliber of artists they all are, that they are able to, they did what was best for the song in every instance. You know, the greatest artists, they just do what is best for the song. Doesn't matter, like, your ego shouldn't be involved. Whatever you think might be the best thing, you know, it's whatever actually ends up sounding the best and just making the best song. Like, that's what they put out there. So it was like, yeah, it was amazing to see, honestly.
It seems as if none of it was really individually motivated. It was very much collectively motivated. And I feel like oftentimes, maybe not oftentimes, but there are certain situations where people could feel like their input is more valued than the rest. But it seems as if like you guys really made this environment the way it should be, where everybody has sort of like a balanced say, and you really feel like you're building towards a collective project.
Yeah. And then also, you know, something to highlight too is like, we've all been working together for the last year, you know, and so it's all been on the internet or virtually, you know what I mean? And so I think there was also the factor of us all coming together for the first time and actually, you know, like bonding, like, and being able to, you know, talk about, you know, everyone's individual careers and, you know, some of the goals that everyone has. It was just really cool. I think it just added to that. And yeah, man, we were just a unit out there. It was like family, you know what I mean? I do also want to, you know, explicitly highlight all of the freshmen as well, the talent that we have. Yeah, I realized like we've been saying freshmen and like, yeah.
we'll give them a proper introduction.
Yeah, for sure. You know, first off, we have Ali, super talented, multi-talent, producer, artist, songwriter. We have Verifiable, who's the duo out of London. Amazing. We have Madeline Duke, really super crazy, like singer. She also does a little bit of rapping too, which is pretty cool. Tate Tucker, California native, born out here, and super talented. And then we have Mark Johns, the GOAT. Yeah, man. And that's pretty much, that was our squad out there in Joshua Tree. And yeah, in my opinion, like definitely some of the craziest talent in, you know, Web3 music, in music in general, but for sure, like Web3 as well.
How'd you pick those individuals? Was there a curation process involved? Was there any certain criteria that I guess like the heads of loners were sort of like eyeballing? Like what went into selecting those few?
Yeah, for sure. So there was a lot of thought that went into that process. We ended up putting out pretty much like an application for the original freshman class, and we had like over 100 applicants, which was like really crazy at the time because, you know, for something that had just got spun up, there was a lot of interest there, which made it very difficult to choose. And so, you know, hats off to the community as well, because we ended up narrowing it down to, I think, like 10 of like, you know, our of the choices. And then the community played like a massive role in choosing the first 5 acts.
Wow. Yeah. So when you say the community, you mean like loners holders or?
Yep.
Okay. Wait, how does
loners
that work?
Holders. Yeah. So we had a vote, and back then it was just in Discord because we didn't have many NFTs at the time. So it was like if you held something, we had a Discord, and these days most of the communication happens in Telegram. But that's what ended up happening.
I love that. Can we sort of talk about Web3 music at large for a minute? I'm curious, how do you see this program, whether it be Loaners, the incubator, or this project as a whole, contributing to the growth of the Web3 music industry? And is there any impact that you hope it will have on the broader music landscape?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I can say like in the short term, like, our goals were really, at least the past, 6 months, the goals were really curation focused. I think we've been crushing it in that regard. We've kind of turned our focus at, the current day and age to these long form projects and figuring out how we can best facilitate these projects that we've made. And, we have lots of ideas of like tools that we want to be able to offer to Loaners artists and Loaners community members that either enhance listeners' experiences or artist experiences. And there's a lot kicking around. I don't know exactly how much I should talk about that yet. I think that people are going to be stoked when a lot of that stuff comes to fruition. But I think like at the end of the day, me, Reo, and Jeremy are all artists, and we like have dealt with the pain points of the music industry. So I think like something that's very important about Loaners is, I mean, one of the reasons we're able to facilitate a good environment to create a project is because we've all been in good environments to create projects and bad environments. I've been in some horrible environments to collaborate. So like, I know what that looks like. And so does Reo and so does Jeremy. So like, we have just years of actual experience as an artist to help draw from. Likewise, we have years of actual experience of all the bullshit that we've had to go through to try to like get a song that we love, the love it deserves, or like deal with all these like random musical entities that were spun up like 50 years ago and now collect all of our money from random places. Like getting paid as an artist is a nightmare. So it's like, getting your song heard by other people is a nightmare. Like in the music industry, a lot of stuff that isn't making the actual music can be an absolute nightmare. So I think anything that just like, we're very focused on how to, specifically in the Web3 community, how to get artists like, into this space comfortably and give them the resources and the tools like immediately available to them that they need to get eyes on their stuff and to, be able to have a successful career here. But for the music industry at large, like I think it's just about, it's about like providing tools for artists that we actually want and not like this stuff that is like, there's a lot of shit out there that I look at as an artist and I'm like, I don't care about this. Like, I don't know what there's a lot of people out there that aren't artists and they're looking at data and numbers and they're thinking like, how can we make these datas and like the data and the numbers better? And we're sitting here as artists thinking, how can we make all these artists have a better time in the music industry and be more successful? And just like make music fun to interact with again. I think it's just like, I personally have just been, I think that it just like, there was, the blog era was this whole thing and it was just this energy was there. And then like, you got to focus on where that like energy is at, that intangible feeling like that, holy shit, something really cool is happening here. We're going to talk about this as a historical event, like in the future. And that's how I feel about the Web3 music space. It's never have I ever seen so many artists that like have such raw talent and are so pissed off by the traditional music industry converge in one place all together. And just like have the resources to build themselves. It's really crazy. Like Reo and I talk about all the time how stoked we are that like we don't have to sit here as artists and wait for someone else to build us the tools that we want. Like we have the resources to build them. And that is thanks to the Web3 music space at large. So yeah, that was a long-winded answer to your question.
It was very well said.
We have a lot of tools. We want to build a lot of curation, a lot of community building. Just want to become the best hub for music interaction and discovery in general. Yeah, Reo, you can
also to add to that as well. Like, on the artist side, we want to help facilitate, the visibility and whatnot, but also on the collector side and like the community side, I think it's becoming more and more difficult, right? The conversation used to be like, is it going to take one or two artists to like really break in Web3 for like Web3 music to have its moment? And I'm becoming a more firm believer that it's going to be, communities like Loners, who are like these like curation vehicles, right? I really think like that's what it takes in order to scale, because we're finding, there's so many artists that drop music NFTs now. There's thousands, right? It's like, if you think about a year ago, there was a few hundred. There really were. And now you got to go on Twitter and, try and crate dig through Twitter and find like all the emerging talent in the space. It's like, how is that scalable? It's just not, right? I think what we're building here at Loners, right, is an access point or a gateway for you to discover amazing talent and for talent to discover amazing community as well. So we want to be the bridge that kind of glues all of this together. And it's like, cool, I know where to go every single week in order to find some really cool music and to be a part of something that's like, bigger than just the music, right? It's just that point of connectivity. And really, I think that's what we're trying to scale. It already exists and we have an amazing community. But as, Web3 music continues to grow, we think that Loners will for sure continue to grow.
Beyond Loners and what you guys have built, are there any other channels that you guys look to in Web3 for finding new artists? I think another good one that comes to mind is Noise DAO and their editorial. I think another one that comes to mind is all the sub pockets of Telegram group chats that we're in. Are there any other that you can speak to?
Yeah, there's a whole bunch, right? It's like, shout out to Noise. I'm a member of the DAO. Love it. Yeah, I mean, there's Twitter, word of mouth. There's like vehicles on the traditional side as well. Certain playlists on Spotify, even things like Lyrical Lemonade, these like other, which I think is like another vehicle for curation as well, or at least like what it started out as. And yeah, and I think that's like our main points of where we like look for talent currently.
Also, like a lot of them is just through our own personal network, of musicians. I think a lot of the discovery of cool artists just comes from us, like, seeing an artist that we fuck with on an artist we're friends with, like Instagram story or something. We're like, oh, who's this? Or between me, Reo, and Jeremy, we have met a lot of artists who are really talented and gives us a wide array of people to pick from. But yeah, I mean, Cooper has an amazing newsletter, and Dreams Never Die. Shout out, they're a great vehicle for discovering cool talent, and there's just being at these events like NFT NYC. You go to events, you meet cool people, like that network grows, and it all kind of channels into us being able to find really awesome talent.
Yeah, I love that. Those are great answers. I have a few more questions for you guys before kind of like diving into the details of the drop. From a high level perspective, because we're already talking about the intersection of Web3 and music, how do you guys see the value proposition of music changing because of NFTs? And what new forms of value do you think can be created because of these new tokenized assets or these digital collectibles, however you want to frame them? Anything come to mind?
Yeah, for sure. It's actually crazy. I just saw this tweet. I want to say it was by Rob earlier today. And what's going viral right now is, the AI recreation of, the Drake song featuring The Weeknd. And he brought up like a super valid point. It's like, if more of these kind of like, deep fakes start happening, it makes sense to tokenize the music because that's like going to be a verifiable source, right? I think that's like actually an insane value prop and is like true because, you know, it's kind of wild, but these days I feel like there's so much, you know, information out there that is just not correct, whether that's intentionally or by mistake, you know what I mean? It's harder and harder to like actually see what the truth is. So yeah, having verifiable sources, you know, on chain, I think is like a really good value prop. I think also, you know, scarcity, direct linkage as well between artists and supporter / listener is super important. You know, for example, I mean, on Spotify, if I log into my Spotify for artist account, right, I do not know if Jimmy is listening to my music in Toronto. You know what I mean? Like, and I think it's kind of messed up, and it's a little wrong that like you don't have access to hardly any of the data, right? And then you actually don't even know if your song got playlisted, right? Are the people who are part of your monthly listeners actually true fans of yours, right? Like, so does that mean because my song is pumping in Los Angeles this week because I got put on a playlist, does that mean I can go sell out a show in that area, right? Or should I even go, you know, do some type of live activation? I think that from an artist standpoint, having the data is super important. And, you know, like instead of top-down communication between supporters and listeners, like Web3 has been so cool because it's like center out, I would say. It's a lot easier to communicate with community and yeah, man, do meaningful stuff.
Totally,
it's been cool. Yeah,
that track slaps, by the way. That AI track, the Ghost Rider.
It does.
It's kind of good, dude.
It's wild. I think the piano is too loud, but I think they got the point. I think it's really well done. I feel like I've listened to it a few times by now. Like shit, this fucking slaps.
It's crazy.
It's fun. Yeah, like that's a huge unlock in the value add of tokenized music over traditionally. And even adding to that, like I think the artist's goal is always to be successful regardless of what platform you're involved with. And like the cross-platform portability of a fan base and of your actual music assets is like something that we only would have dreamed of, 5-10 years ago. I want to still have, like, if Spotify imploded and the platform completely shut down tomorrow, I would want to make sure I still have a connection to these fans and that they can still listen to that music. Whereas now it's like I have to send my music to a distributor who then they, like, behind the curtain send it to everybody. And then also most people don't know how we get paid as musicians. And the funny part is most musicians don't know how we get paid either. Like on one side, on the master side, it's pretty simple. My distributor pays me every month, just for streams I get, whatever. On the publishing side, I think there's 6 major types of publishing money, and each one has 30, 40 entities involved in it. And someone is, your song is played here in a movie or something. Someone pays this person, they keep a cut. This random entity keeps a cut. It goes here, they keep a cut. I have no idea who those people are. I don't know who's touched my money before it gets to me. Having a tokenized song, just having everything on chain is the future. It had for artists, especially where our industry traditionally just fucks us completely. I want all of my payments to be able to be traceable and just have that permanent data. To even speak to the bullshit of it. Have you ever heard of the black box?
No.
Do you know what this is? Okay.
No, what is that?
This is crazy. So buckle up. This is when people say the music industry is fucked up, it's this is what they're talking about. So the black box is this name for this essentially bullshit that I think it was like the Millennium Act or something. There's some like bill passed at some point. I should probably know more of the details on it, but essentially when you as an artist don't collect, it was like a small little line somewhere in like a giant bill to do something. When I as an artist don't collect my publishing royalties, that side that goes, the side of my money that goes through all of these random entities, when I fail to collect that money, which most artists do, like most artists out there today, if you have to, I have to hire a company to help me collect that money. I have a publishing admin. Their entire job is to collect that money, and then they get to keep a percent. That is like necessary to make that money. Because I'm not going to go out here and call up hundreds of organizations to get like a cent here, a cent there, blah, blah, blah. But either way, when I inevitably, as a just independent artist who doesn't know what the hell I'm doing, when I fail to collect that money, it goes to the black box. The black box is essentially the bank accounts of all of the top recording artists in the United States and the top record labels. There's like it's like the top whatever percent of artists and like these few like record labels, like, you know, like the big record labels that everyone's heard of. They just get a check every year of everyone else's royalties. So
it's crazy.
I like when I hired a publishing admin, they were like, hey, like, give us all the information, you know, because you're definitely like, we are at risk of losing, you know, we're like a year and a half, maybe 2 years out from this, you know, I had a big song like blow up a couple years ago. They're like, get us the information on that right now, because we need to get on it, because you've probably already lost some of your royalties just to the ether, to the black box, to other people's wallets that have nothing to do with my project. Like, none of these major labels are providing any services for me. I've never talked to Beyonce, you know, these top recording artists, but they just get a check for my publishing royalties that I failed to collect, and all like these probably hundreds of thousands of other artists' royalties. So like, it is that level of fucked up for artists to just get paid that like, it needs to just be traceable. I need to like, it needs to be like, I made money here, it went to this wallet, then it went to my wallet. None of the middlemen, none of this black box bullshit.
Right.
Like, it's nuts.
Wow.
You just lose it. Like, it's money that I earned. And it's like, now it's, I waited like 1 to 2 years. If you leave money in a bank account for 2 years, it should still be there.
Right.
You know?
Right.
My money, I forgot to fucking hire a whole other company to help me get it, and now it's gone.
It's messed up.
Messed up.
So let's just hope you guys claim the funds from the contract that's about to happen on Friday, and that doesn't disappear. It doesn't enter
the black box.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But let's talk about Friday. Okay, what's going on Friday? We have Satellites dropping the first grandiose project since Loner started about 2 years ago, since that Mirror crowdfund. Really, really big milestone. Really big moment. What is there to expect? What's going on? Fill us in, guys.
Okay, so Satellites is a 6-track project made by the very talented Loners freshman class. Yeah, this is our this is our debut long form project. It's something we've been building towards for a long time, and we're super excited to share. A lot of the music, most of the music we've curated and released up until now has been awesome songs that artists we respect have made on their own, and then we're just helping distribute them, get them in front of people. This is, kind of different for us. This is like, we really incubated this from the ground up with artists that, we in the community selected. So going into this week, we're going to be giving a lot more information on all these artists, on, the drop structure, just sharing bits and pieces leading up until Friday, which is the mint. Collectors who own Loners pieces are going to receive like a discounted pre-sale price. We obviously want to reward the current Loners collectors, but wanted to just kind of have the whole mint on one day and really make an event out of it, and not do the like pre-sale day and then the day after public mint. So the mint's all going to happen at one time on Friday. It's going to happen at loners.xyz, LNRZ.xyz. So we're getting the whole site together right now. We're working with the lovely team over at Bonfire. Shout out to them. They've been incredible and just helping us build the infrastructure. the lovely people at Sound, we also have a kits activation. We're doing a sample pack of sounds collected from the project and stuff that's on the songs, stuff that got created at the camp but isn't necessarily on the song. So there's going to be a free sample pack for everybody to collect and use, in their songs. And we just kind of want to have, everyone be able to dive into the world that we lived in when this project was getting created. So yeah, Reo, I don't know, do you have any other things you want to add on?
Yeah. So also something that we wanted to do differently this time around, right, is for most of these like collection drops, let's say, the community doesn't really have a say in kind of like what happens as far as the decision making goes. So, for this time around, like we really wanted to emphasize the fact that this is the community's project. Like they helped put this all together. Like even the camp was funded off of just like the treasury, which was super cool. So we ended up having a vote as to what the price and supply would be. And the community decided on 1,250 editions at 0.01 for the mint price. And so that's what we're running with. They helped curate the first class of freshmen, which is really cool. And we thought it would be completely, the only thing to do was bring them into like a higher level as far as the decision making went. And so, yeah, that's what we're running with on Friday. And we're really excited. It's going to be really cool.
And the rarity of the songs as well was decided through a community like on-chain vote. And we had some of the like percentages of the different rarities, and then we released previews of the songs, just little 15-second snippets of every song, and let people decide which one felt the most rare, which one felt like it should have the largest supply. And that was really cool. Like it's just really awesome to have the community be the ones deciding like the order of the track list and like what the drop is actually going to look like. So yeah, that will all be on Friday.
Amazing.
On our website at LNRZ.xyz.
And is there an allow list at all for previous loaners collectors? I'm sure people are thinking that.
Yeah, for sure. So if you were part of the initial crowdfund, if you hold any loaner's piece, yeah, you're on the allow list. Yeah.
Got it. Is it like a pre-sale price and a public sale price, or how does that work?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe that it's going to run in tandem. So it's not going to be like, on the hour before you have this window to mint at, your pre-sale price. But yeah, so it'll all happen at once. That's like the new,
Amazing. So
shout out to the sound team as well, because that's like, yeah, they can do that now.
Yeah. So we'll like be definitely releasing more details as to like the actual pricing and like the exact time of the drop on Friday, for example. So definitely like stay tuned for that. But there's going to be, there's a discounted price for people, based on their loaners, loaners holdings and involvement with the community prior. And it's gonna be fun.
Amazing.
It's gonna be cool.
Amazing. Well, guys, I'm excited. I'll be watching and supporting. Before I let you go, where can we learn more about you guys? Where can we learn more about loaners? Shoot it away.
Yeah, at loaners XYZ. So LNRZ XYZ on all platforms. And for myself, I'm at Reo Cragun, ReoCragun.
Yeah, I'm at DLG_soundwaves on Twitter and DLG.soundwaves on Instagram. But yeah, DLG Soundwaves, and you can find me. And yeah, definitely give loaners a follow and stay tuned. We got a lot of cool stuff coming.
Yeah,
let's go.
And yeah, like I said earlier, would love to have everyone, just like join the loaners community. You don't even have to collect, right? I think, the most important thing is just like listening to a lot of this music. That's first and foremost, like what we, want to preach. There's a lot of talent in Web3 music, and, yeah, I think just get involved. Like I said, you do not have to collect. I think just being a part of the community and having conversations. There's a lot of great people in our, in our chat and just like on our Twitter. And yeah, would love to have you.
Yeah. But I will say, if you do collect, make sure to join that Telegram chat.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got the link in our bio on Twitter. So if you either already have a Loaners piece and you aren't in that Telegram chat, or you are not in the Loaners community yet and you're going to collect on Friday, make sure to join that chat because we would love to have you there.
Amazing. Guys, I'm really excited for you. Congrats on all the progress. Congrats on the big release. We'll have to do this again soon, but until then, keep killing it and chat soon.